Okay, so I have a couple questions. Somebody we haven't talked about. Do we have anything else about the Red Wedding that you guys wanted to talk about or discuss, or
Not really.
theories or anything like that? Okay, so
It's sad. It makes you cry. That's the end.
okay, so at the end of Dance of Dragons,
Mm-hmm.
there's a certain, and this happened at the end of the season as well. So we're not. People are caught up to a degree.
I'm not worried about that.
So the death of Jon Snow.
Mm-hmm.
Lies. That man is gonna
So,
come back
well,
as
thoughts
someone else.
from the two of y'all. Like, what do y'all think? Like, what is it?
Well, I've always been of the opinion that even if the show people, because that's primarily who's talking about it for the most
Right.
part, because people who read the books were like, yeah, we're pretty sure he's coming back. The point is not that is Jon Snow dead?
Right.
Yeah, Jon Snow is dead. That's never
What
been
is his
under
what is his
contention.
life worth?
Yes, what's going to
Yes.
happen? And so one of the things that is a difference from the book to the show has been the fact that Shireen and Lady Selyse are at Castle Black in the book.
Right.
And Melisandre arrives, and so what's going to happen?
Right.
We don't even know the outcome of the Battle of Ice, which is the battle between the Boltons and their allies, and Stannis and his allies. We have no clue. There's been a little bit of things released that Martin has released on his these chapters, sample chapters. We don't even know what's going to happen with that. So the assumption is that something's going to happen, right? The funny thing about the show part of it is that they've set it up in such a way almost to be like, this is definitely happening.
Yeah.
Because they
no.
changed things from the book that weren't even there. So like Melisandre actually visits Thoros of Myr and sees Beric Dondarrion and is like, this isn't supposed to happen. What's going on with this? So she already has context for that. But in the show, or in the books, there's several avenues for resurrection. One of
they've
them,
already discussed it. Yeah,
the possibility, of course,
happened.
of actual resurrection, which is
We
what we
have
saw with Lady Stoneheart.
yeah. We have two characters already who.
Yeah, there is definitely stuff in the
Yeah.
books that we've lost in the show, and it's kind of sad because I do miss Lady Stoneheart. I love her. Kill
Yeah.
all the Freys.
Well, what's cool too is
Screw
that
'em.
that's some of
Hang
this-
'em.
in terms of the show. In terms of the show, that that's still a possibility that
Yeah.
that's going to end up showing up at some point.
I don't think it's going to be
They
Lady
don't know yet.
Stoneheart,
No.
but I think there might be an analog for it. I actually saw a video about this recently where they think there's a possibility that Sansa could play the same role,
Ooh,
which would be an
that'd
interesting idea.
That's interesting.
But in terms of the books themselves, so of course there's the resurrection possibility. So we already know that Red Priests, because of the way that their powers have increased more recently, that's a possibility. The second possibility, of course, is some sort of combination of that, maybe with warging. Martin, one of the chapters in the prologue of I want to say Dance with Dragons, I don't remember if it's Feast for Crows or not, is actually about somebody attempting to save themselves by warging into another human being.
Well, yeah, it was
Right.
in the
Six Skins is the guy.
Yeah, the show, that dude with the wildlings.
Yeah,
being a turd.
they kill him off and that's whatever. But in the book, he's got this much more. It's actually very
Yeah, he's
great
there.
example of Martin writing almost like horror.
Right.
It's great.
He is there like ace in the hole.
Yeah, and he attempts to save himself from death by warging into a person. And so people have suggested the possibility that Jon will warg into Ghost, and something that will then happen afterwards. One of the interesting things, of course, about somebody warging into an animal is the longer that you are warged, the more you become like the animal, or your spirits, in a sense, begin to merge and this really gets into something that really connects with like the whole overarching theme in the like what is all this even about? What is A Song of Ice and Fire? Like, what does it actually mean?
Well, I actually had a question for that too.
And
but,
so we'll have to get to that in a second.
But I really wanted to talk about that too, because that does seem to be the only reason I'm doing that is for context too, because that is the question that people kind of have on their brains right now because of the show.
Yeah.
And because of how, and I know that Martin ends it a little bit. He doesn't end it in as much of a cliffhanger-y way, but he still does to a degree. And that's probably, I think, where the impatience
I'd have to
people.
reread it again, but I'm pretty sure it's a pretty like
this
is an example of one of the things that you always want to know is if somebody dies, Like, you want to actually know for sure that they're dead. Back with from In a Game of Thrones, when Ned is beheaded, in the book there isn't any doubt that he's actually beheaded. In the show, some people thought, well, maybe they cut it a certain way and but of course it wasn't. I mean, they show his head later on.
I think even when you go back and watch that scene in the show, it's pretty. I
Right.
think it's really definitive that he is dead.
Yes.
So
But the show where you end it, John is dying, and in the book it's the same thing. There's
right. He's not dead.
Yeah, it's not. We're not talking about somebody who's dead and then you see their body. It's not like with Rob. So with to connect this back to the Red Wedding, when Rob is killed, of course, afterwards they cut off his head and they sew the head of his direwolf to his body.
Yeah.
There's no question
that
about who is dead.
Yes.
But when Martin, or the show, of course, but when Martin wants to make it ambiguous, you do have examples of that. Bran and Rickon being the most obvious.
Yeah,
where Theon and Reek, which again, this goes back the skinning of things goes back into the whole overarching concept of what A Song of Ice and Fire is really about.
Yeah.
But the fact that, first of all, Ramsay Bolton was prepared with clothes and his filleting knife and all this stuff ready to go to start skinning some Miller's boys. Like, there's some really there's things going on that he shouldn't know those things, or he shouldn't be ready for that.
Yeah.
And he is.
Okay.
But the fact that, when he can keep it ambiguous. So John is ambiguous because we're stopping that scene. We're not talking about somebody his head hasn't been cut off and stuck on a pike where it's obvious that he's dead.
Well,
that.
Can I just throw in real quick? I know we're not talking about the show, but I feel like because we're all caught up, and that's part of the problem right now. I say problem, but I think it's kind of fancy.
Yeah, that's fine.
We have all this stuff, to me, having read the books, and you two, Dwayne, is just like, oh my God, are you telling me this man's not coming back, please? Why did Melisandre come back to the world?
Well, yeah.
And in the books, though, it feels that kind of way, too, where it's like, I don't think...
Well, there are different theories.
He would not have ended that book that way if he was dead.
Right.
Because the man would
it's
kill him.
The next scene
would be done.
Like, you just need that next scene. You need the funeral of Jon Snow where they put his body on a pyre and they burn it.
Well, that's the point that Dwayne was
he
making.
Doesn't die.
I think it's a really good point.
Who knows?
Like, Martin's good about definitively when he wants you to think a character's dead, they're dead. Like, and like he said, what his example was Rob. In cutting off.
For sure. Making him into a Rob wolf sandwich.
Yeah,
but that's not it, with John at all. And I don't think that anyone at the Wall would be able to kill Ghost. Ghost wouldn't have that shit. Sorry, excuse me, but he's not gonna have all that because Ghost. It's already having an issue.
They've set that up that, like, I think even if, for instance, if Rob's direwolf if it hadn't been caged up, I mean it would have killed a lot of people in order to get to him anyway.
Sure.
Yeah, so no.
He set up the power that these direwolves have. I think is what's great about it.
Well, and that's why we have to talk about Rickon and his wolf because that exists.
Oh yes, we will.
And Ghost with John, no, and I know a lot of people feel this kind of way about it. I guess in the books, you can kind of say, well, if John is actually dead, then Ghost, he can warg into Ghost for all we know, because that's kind of how it's built up in the books.
Yeah.
I don't believe it. I just don't.
Yeah.
I just feel like John is not completely dead.
Well,
I don't believe it.
You told me
what
books,
you
think.
I just don't believe it.
Right. The theory that goes
I don't believe it in
what's his...
I feel like sometimes Bran is warging into Ghost.
Like he's the... Well, you feel like... You're telling me the theory that you have is that John is essentially... What does Melisandre consider him to be? What is the name of the character?
Azor
Ahai.
Yes. That's sorry.
Sorry, I was like, what? What are you talking? Okay, now we're here.
I wasn't doing a good job of saying
no,
that.
Azor Ahai.
That's the theory.
Well, okay, so the gist of it was that he tried to make this.
Because the
sword.
idea is that she tries to imply that Stannis is originally this person.
Right. That's what Mel does in the books, kind of.
Yeah.
And in the show a lot.
Yeah.
A lot more in the show, I think. But it's the idea that, a lot of people don't believe he's Azor Ahai.
Well, yeah, no.
A lot of people feel like Jaime is, actually, and I kind of feel it.
I'm of the opinion that no one and also everyone, not literally everyone.
No, I get it.
But,
I feel it.
So that goes back again to the concept of these characters as archetypes. Jon is an Azor Ahai type. Dany is an Azor Ahai type. Jaime is an Azor. They're all types of that person.
Okay.
And of course, if you want to get your tinfoil hat idea out here,
to go in the kitchen
that's the whole point of it.
So Lucifer means Lightbringer. First of all, the whole reason why his name is Lucifer means Lightbringer is Stannis' fake sword, Lightbringer. That's literally the word Lucifer. That's what that means. And
that's sad.
And so
poor
Stannis. People are assuming. A lot of people are assuming that Azor Ahai is a person that you would want.
And it may not be.
Yeah, and so his argument is actually that the whoever the original Azor Ahai was, or even if there was an Azor, it could have been this astronomical phenomenon that happened, that it actually caused the long night. And we're not talking about an actual positive thing. We're talking about a very negative thing.
No, and actually, now that you're saying this, I'm like, oh, wait. What if Rickon is like the new Night's King? Even though, obviously, in the show we have one.
You have to explain this because now I'm completely
Hang
lost,
on. So. I'm going to. You're not giving me a chance. So, but wait.
No, you went out of left field completely.
No.
You're bringing up a character we haven't even talked about.
This isn't left field at all for people who are
it's not.
in
these
books.
It's not.
But no, I'm talking. We haven't even talked about Rickon, and you're talking about Rickon in the
okay, Rickon is Ned Stark's son.
No,
yes.
Here it is.
He's on Skagos
disappeared
with the Skagosi and their walruses and stuff like that.
No, I don't even.
Well,
I am the walrus.
I can't wait. I want to
so
see
far.
I am the Eggman.
Yeah, he's gonna warg into a walrus. But the point is that
we are the Eggmen.
but the warg. See, all this goes together.
Yes, it does.
One of the things that one of the things that Preston Jacobs has been talking about a lot on his YouTube channel is this concept that dragon riding and warging are essentially the same thing. That everything going on is actually telepathy and telekinesis.
Yeah, I can see that though, especially with dragons.
Right.
I can see it.
And so his whole fundamental, his whole conceit, what is the Song of Ice and Fire, what is going on with Planetos, which is where all this takes place, is that it's all part of George R. R. Martin's 1,000 Worlds. And this is a world that used to have technological innovation that went through some gigantic catastrophe. Some people are suggesting a nuclear catastrophe, but Lucifer Means Lightbringer actually suggests that it's an astronomical one, that literally something happened. There was a meteor hit the moon and destroyed. There were two moons. Destroyed the moon.
Yeah, in the book that makes sense because of the red comet.
And the dragons. So Azor Ahai is the sun, and Nisa is the moon, and the Forging of Lightbringer is essentially a story about this comet
that is
penetrating the moon,
really cool
which gave birth to dragons. The dragons are literally the meteors that fell to Earth, causing a nuclear winter situation, which was the Long Night.
That's so...
And causing the complete breakdown of all civilization. So that by this point, you now have this medieval society. The thing about the medieval society is it kind of doesn't make any sense because it's been around for thousands of years we're talking about, and they have things like the Wall, like Storm's End. Storm's End is a castle that has no seams. They have no way to build that.
Right. No, and I think
at this point in time,
when we talked about that earlier about magic,
there's crazy stuff going on
being in this series. I think that's a good point to bring back. Yes, I think all of these things have a foundation in real life. but I also think that magic informs a lot of it.
Oh
too.
yeah, and I love this idea that remember this goes back to Arthur C. Clarke's famous quote that that sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic. So if you do have
That's
people
fair.
who are essentially why is Dany a good dragon rider? Could be a genetic reason, but even so, they form connections that are telepathic, and then you have wargs. With all the Stark children,
Yes,
are wargs.
all of them. And even John, even though
I would say especially John.
Yeah.
John,
I think Arya too.
Arya
is so in the books. Arya is so important.
Oh, she's been dreaming she's seen Nymeria and her pack in the Riverlands.
She pulled her own mother out of the river.
Yes.
As Nymeria, so she is warging. That is happening.
It's totally happening.
And people do not understand that. Arya made Lady Stoneheart happen.
Yep. She did.
With her brains.
Her mind.
I don't know why you're looking at me. I don't know what's going on.
I know, because you look like you're not
we
knowing
talked about
what's going on.
Somehow we went into Mad Max post-apocalyptic
it
theories.
This is kind of what that is, though. In the books?
Yeah.
Well, it reminded me, like, Dwayne started talking about that whole thing, and then it started reminding me of there's a great Neil Marshall movie, the movie that he did after he did The Descent, called Doomsday.
Yeah.
And in Doomsday, there's a section where Malcolm McDowell's one of the characters. He's a scientist character, but what he ended up doing was taking this infected part of Scotland.
Yes.
And he just did it. It's kind of like Excalibur.
Mm-hmm.
So they reverted back to this sort of medieval society.
Yes.
So you guys are talking about this, and
that is kind of how it feels,
all I can
actually.
think is Neil Marshall's Doomsday.
Yes. Well,
Look at Wildfire.
Sure.
And I don't know how many people out there in our
what
audience.
is that? How's that working?
And I don't think you guys. I don't know who's seen Doomsday. I saw.
I haven't.
I saw that in the
I've
theaters.
seen the first
it's a fantastic
10 minutes of it.
It's a fantastic movie. It's very much Mad Max meets Excalibur, but there's this section in there where that's essentially this plague has happened, and these characters take over that section and it's like a medieval existence.
Yes. Well, this is something that Martin's written about.
Yeah.
In his Thousand Worlds, basically what you have is this giant human empire that as it expands, it comes into contact with two other alien races and they go at war. And there is telepathy and hive minds and all of this stuff is in there. And there is a great short story called Bitter Blooms that is about a medieval society on this world, and then somebody comes into contact with a ship, with a spaceship.
Oh gosh.
and it's become so separated away from the original ship that they don't even have the word for it.
Yeah,
they're just like this fortress that they don't even know how to describe it.
I will say that.
So this
is going from as a TV show watcher to a book reader kind of idea. That's where, sincerely, I will say, either in the books or in the show, if something like that happens, that is essentially jumping the shark. I will even say to a degree that
he's not going. I don't think he's going to.
For him, I don't feel
not.
like it is,
he's not going to be like, and then people show up and it's all.
That is one of those things that you guys started talking about. My brain went, what? Like, how did we even get here? Because.
Okay, so this what it really comes...
I get what you're saying, but it literally, like, I just started sitting here, you guys talking about
okay,
this,
go home, David, you're done.
And my brain almost exploded because I was like, how the hell did we get here?
Because that's how it is. You haven't read the books, that's how it is.
Because these are more... I think a lot of people find this more interesting if it is kind of a science fiction-y thing, but even without it being... It as pure...
I appreciate it because but it really is kind of like not something that was on the agenda to talk about. And I'm like, I don't even have anything.
It was on my agenda to talk about.
So no, bravo, because it's like
Dwayne's like, forget you.
No, but it like, and now I'm like, I think I really want to show everybody Doomsday, like watch Neil Marshall's Doomsday, because it has something that's very much like this in there.
But you think about it, a society breaks down, eventually you're going to go somewhere.
Well, and that's kind of what, you could talk about Fury Road.
Actually, no, literally. That's
what happens in Fury Road, especially.
This is what happens in literal history.
Yeah, that's
because
true.
medieval society is literally what happened after the breakup of the Roman Empire.
I feel like
So-
Wildfire is very rooted
That's a good
in history.
point, though. I never thought about that. So.
The Red Wedding is.
Sure.
Joffrey's wedding is actually rooted in history.
Yes.
The Purple Wedding.
Yes.
The
Yes.
day that
And-
everybody rejoiced because Joffrey was
Drank
dead.
good
Oh,
beer
it's
that day.
brilliant. I love it.
Yeah, no, he deserved to die.
Yeah.
Goodbye,
That is one of the
little
sides. I'll
shit.
go back to like something that we talked about where you talked to me about the Red Wedding when it happened. I remember when
I
the
cried.
when the Purple Wedding
I
happened.
was like,
she was almost reading it to me like bit by bit.
yes,
As like
I
a
was.
play by play because she's like
Yeah.
I knew it was
because she
gonna
straight up
happen.
told me like I think that you started reading that chapter of the book
It's like, oh shit.
and then you were
Joffrey's-
like I think
Joffrey.
Joffrey's gonna
Joffrey's
die
gonna die.
and you kept
Yeah.
telling me as it built up and built up and built up that
I
Joffrey
made
was gonna
these
die.
faces.
So.
I'm making
Yeah.
them now, obviously, but I was like, oh my god, he's gonna die. This is wonderful.
Yes.
And I know that's awful. He's a
Well.
child. I don't want him
It's
to
also a
die.
book.
But he was a little garbage bag human.
So you want him to die because he's a garbage bag human
He's a
being.
garbage.
So
No, that's not my choice. But I didn't do anything.
So-
Alright.
Well, it is. It is.
He's-
It is
it's-
fiction.
It is fiction,
It's
but I'm like,
fiction.
I didn't do anything to him. I'll feel
it's
bad about it.
fitting because like he is that character. He's like I said, he's set up. Martin sets him up in a way that allows
Yes.
you to.
Yeah, no, Joffrey has
When he
almost
gets
no
it-
redeeming qualities, in my
because-
opinion.
Okay, so in the
No,
video-
I think
I'm
he's-
gonna get, you know,
So was
I'm
he
gonna push your
being-
dad's head up, your brother's
Well, yeah,
head up
he's
here.
he's being
Goodbye.
a complete just utter shit. Like
Yes.
there's no
He
other way to
is.
say it. You know.
Yeah, no, that's true.
Garbage bag little human.
And I think you can feel. This is one of the, it's a good example where you can feel bad for him in terms of the
For the
fact
life
that-
he had.
Yeah, you can be
Yeah.
like, okay, your parents did a terrible job.
He
with you.
is essentially a product of his environment.
Actually,
he
you
really
know what's
is.
weird about that though is
Mhm.
that I feel a little bad for Joffrey
Yeah.
because I think he knew that his dad was his uncle, which is creepy and weird and gross.
Yeah,
But
he really wanted Robert to be his dad.
he did.
I think he did, and
Because Robert did things.
yeah,
He was doing stuff.
yeah,
That's what it is.
Yeah.
And it's very, very sad, actually.
Mhm.
I think he realized as he got older that my dad is my uncle and my dad that I
Yeah.
think is my dad is not my dad.
yeah,
And that'll screw a little kid up.
sure. And not only that,
And
but
so I feel bad for him in that
Yes.
little way.
yeah,
But otherwise, no, he
Well,
chose to be a
From all the
douche.
history
Yeah.
stuff that I've read too, though, they've set this idea up too because essentially,
Every 14-year-old's
there's something-
a douche.
well, there's something that I think is very
Well, that's
fascinating
true.
that we haven't really talked about, and is
As a
sort of
teacher,
the setup history of it.
I
Is
know
that
you know.
King Ares? Is it King Ares?
Yeah.
The
Mad
second.
Ares? Yeah. Danny's,
The Mad
yeah.
King. Like
Yeah.
what's fascinating when you read his history is that he didn't start off as a bad king.
No,
he
he was
doesn't.
He was
wonderful.
actually a good king.
I
Yes.
think that's what makes
Who was-
Jamie's arc so interesting.
He
Actually,
was, and that's just something that that's why I was getting to that point because like, it's really cool that the idea that there's these parallels and where he's turning things around in that regards.
Mhm.
Because I think that's cool about what I found fascinating when I was reading about King Ares II is that he did start off good, and then this very traumatic event happened
yeah, the
where he was
oh,
captured.
with Dunk an egg.
Where he
Well,
was
with egg.
Yeah, where he was captured, and this paranoia grew in him.
yes,
And that's great. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Think about the idea
No,
that
no, no.
Martin's...
Actually, you know what? See, and I just referenced something.
well, it-
no,
and I
feel
wanted to get to
like,
Dunk and Egg too because I think that's an
well, I
important
feel
thing
like
of-
Egg and what happened with him. And you have to realize this boy didn't really care about anything. He was just like, I'm having fun. I'm a
Mhm.
royal. I'm good. Because that's how it feels in the
Yeah.
books to me.
I don't know if
He-
Yeah,
he-
this is a book to series reference because they talk about that to a degree because I think is it Master Aemon at the Wall?
yeah.
He's a Targaryen. He's one of the
Yes,
brothers.
he is a
His
Targaryen.
brother was
No,
Ares.
he
right?
was going to
Aegon.
be next.
Is it
Yeah,
Aegon?
Aegon.
Yeah.
Aegon, whatever it
I
is.
couldn't remember the name.
Egg's brother.
Yes.
Yeah.
So essentially, like he was a Targaryen. He makes that point to Jon Snow that when his
I did
when
what
Ned
I
is-
had to do.
when Ned Stark is beheaded and he learns
Yeah.
that information, he tells him essentially, you can't
You
can't
can't
get
do it.
involved at this point. Like I
You-
watched my
he
brothers.
told him you made your choice.
Yep.
You figure it out.
And these are fascinating like things that
It's sad.
I think enriches that world. That's what I love about like
That's why
I haven't
love
read
them
all the
so much.
books, but I've read those. I've gone through and read the wikis where I was like, I got really fascinated with like King Ares II because of that. The Mad King, the idea that he didn't start off as a bad king. He was actually a good ruler.
No, an egg.
And this paranoia
All of their
because of this event grew in him.
I've always felt like there was a lot of similarities in the book, especially with Targaryens, with Egyptians in our world.
Yes.
Because that is a thing. And I don't know if George has ever said that, but it definitely is a thing.
Okay, so we can't let this podcast end. So I want everybody's opinion. What do you think the title means? What do you think is the Song of Ice and Fire? Obviously, Christina,
you
let's
really
start first. I'm sincere. Like I haven't read the books, but I wrote down some notes that I thought.
Well, here's my
terms,
thing.
So I'm curious.
I think it's about balance. Now that I'm ready to read the new book. I really want it. It's supposed to come out this year,
That's a fascinating. Right? It's not going to come out
maybe next year.
They said no.
I'm gonna cry. So
they confirmed that earlier this year.
I
George R.
know,
Martin said that
they
it's
did,
not
but
coming
I'm
out
just gonna
this year.
pretend like it's not real. I feel like it's about a balance, and I feel like it's about fire being passion and ice being calculation. And I know that seems really dumb, but that is literally what all of the books are about.
I get it though. That's a good idea. That's a good thought.
Check this out. So
I went more literal.
No, this is actually from where this title comes from is exactly I think what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Robert Frost has a poem called Fire and Ice, which
I saw that too.
Ooh,
some say the world will end in fire, some say in ice. From what I've tasted of desire, I hold with those who favor fire. But if it had to perish twice, I think I know enough of hate to say that for destruction, ice is also great and would suffice.
And that is fair and true, and that's why I love that stupid Ice Dragon book, because that's how it feels.
Yes.
Dude, that little girl sits there and is like, I can ride an ice dragon. No one else can. And we killed all these fire dragons that are trying to destroy our farm.
So for the record, I will say that I hate Robert Frost, but other than that,
I love Robert Frost.
He hates you too, so it's okay.
He's dead, so he doesn't hate me at all.
Oh, he does.
But he would have.
I think this is more of a. This is more of a. You know what? Y'all can just fuck right off. But let me explain. It's actually to me, it's the same thing I've talked about with 1984. It's growing up with that and being forced to read it.
That's
I would probably have more appreciation for it if I hadn't been forced to read Robert Frost when I was a child.
I've never ever read 1984.
We talked about this before.
I haven't.
I know we haven't. You didn't. I did.
I didn't have to.
I gave up after I didn't read the last third of it. And I still guess what was going to happen.
I didn't have to.
So either George Orwell was a really bad writer or I'm a really good thinker.
George Orwell is a great writer and is brilliant. So I'll let you take that wherever you want.
Oh, I'd say nothing.
But
that was a dumble burn.
because
Dumble
books
burn.
are not all about suspense. See?
No, I get it.
And knowing what happens, so anyways, so we've
actually you're verifying that I am a great thinker because I didn't have to guess that stuff.
I was waiting on y'all to figure that out.
This conversation right here was a Song of Ice and Fire.
No, it's okay.
Yeah, but this is why I don't think that you can say that. Like some people are looking at this in a very black and white paradigm that
that's how
fire has to be good and the ice has to be bad.
No,
well, no,
but obviously it can't be because that's not Martin's thing.
What I wrote down, and I think this is what,
ice
and it doesn't go into the good and bad, is like when I thought a Song of Ice and Fire, I go almost the literal route, and said that ice is John and fire is Dany,
which
are neither good or bad. They are both who they are.
Yes.
Well, they're important.
Well, no,
they're special
I'm taking, and
smart.
when I say
use this smart, use this special, not here.
When I say taking it the literal path is you have a character named Jon Snow who's fighting on the wall,
and it's actually really really sad because I know damn well.
And you have
hold on,
Daenerys Targaryen.
Spoilers, damn all. His name is not Jon Snow.
Well, no, we'll talk about that here in a second.
Damned if it is.
Let me finish my thoughts.
Jon Targaryen.
We'll talk about that here in just a second. So we have a character whose name is, but he is named Jon Snow, and we have a character named Dany Daenerys Targaryen,
Daenerys, yeah.
who has dragons, fire. So
Sure.
I'm
You
taking
also
it,
have Fagon.
I'm
too.
taking it the literal
In the
route
book.
of Jon and Dany being the Song of Ice and Fire, because essentially, if you think about the two characters that really are your main through in the books, and I haven't read all the books, I'm going to.
Hold on.
They are
I
the
need
two
to,
most
I need to throw
important
this in here
characters.
now.
I would make the assumption.
In the books, Tyrion is dealing with this dude, this kid, who is supposed to be.
Well, y'all can talk about that too.
The
I was gonna.
baby.
I didn't want to mention that, but yeah,
No,
the
no,
baby
no,
that
we're gonna talk. Spoilers.
Supposedly the baby-
F you.
the
Goodbye.
baby that the mountains
What are
supposedly
spoilers? Who knows?
smashed against the wall,
Right, and maybe he didn't.
and maybe he didn't. Maybe it was a baby that was switched out for another baby. Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah, yeah,
Which
yeah.
I don't
So-
actually believe.
No, I don't believe
That's
it either.
actually
I think
the one-
he's
I think he's a
actually
Blackfire.
fake.
Well, in everything,
pagan,
yeah.
and I think he's a Blackfire
Yeah.
because
Everything
they have
that I've
purple
read,
eyes
yes,
and
that-
white hair.
That's what's
Yeah, I believe you.
what I find
I'm with
fascinating,
you,
so.
Dwayne. But I feel like what Tyrion is doing right now in the books is bullshit. Because I don't get it. I don't think he's a Targaryen. I think he's a fake Targaryen.
Sure.
Like, I'm down with the Fagon
Yeah.
stuff. I don't get it. I never felt like that in the books. I think the books give you a lot more of a real feeling, kind of, than the show does.
Yeah.
But Fagon is definitely fake.
Yeah,
To
I would
me.
I would agree with that, and I like the.
I
actually, this
feel like
comes
the
from-
mountain.
That's the thing that
I
I've
feel
read.
because I feel like the mountain actually was like, oh, a baby, blah blah blah. I
Yeah.
killed
Yeah.
it, and
And
he doesn't
I'm-
care.
They've
I'm
established
wondering-
it as
Dick.
that character.
Oh
that
sure,
he's
and
that
I'm
way.
wondering like if we're gonna see.
Playing in ball.
Well, let me actually just back up a second, 'cause just to give credit where credit is due. But there's a YouTube channel called Alt Shift X, and that's his explanation of the fake Aegon thing is where the Blackfire connection comes from. That Illyrio Mopatis is actually his wife was a Blackfire, and that fake Aegon may be his son.
Yeah, and
That's
I've read about the Blackfires because they talk
nice.
about
That's
like
a good theory. I
sort of
like
in the
that.
because sort of in the past too, there was the Blackfire Rebellion that
Yes.
happened like centuries before all this takes place. I think
Not centuries.
that's
because
centuries or whatever. You know, what
people forget. This is
Well,
something
I
about the
say
time frame.
Blackfire happened when Cersei was alive and
Yeah,
doing
the time
things.
the time frame here. Hang on.
Did it?
Well,
Oh,
parts,
maybe I
there were several.
I
Black-
must have misread it.
there were
then.
several Blackfire.
yeah, Blackfire
rebellions.
is
Um,
Blackfire was in the show.
No, but the time frame, Aegon's Landing,
Ooh,
the
the
Aegon
original.
First is only 400 years ago.
Yeah, it wasn't that
So
long ago.
the Targaryens were
Fair
only
enough.
in charge of Westeros for 400 years.
But
until
then they
Oh,
did
yeah,
the
yeah, yeah,
Egyptian
gotcha.
thing
Yeah.
and they banged each other and it was gross.
Okay.
And now they have things
So,
yeah.
that
my
don't
other
make
thought
sense.
process on the what is a Song of Ice and Fire comes down to is it the what y'all can tell me if I'm
Mhm.
full of crap on this one. Is it the story of
You
two?
are. Love you,
Don't get married,
though.
folks. Is it the story of two houses? Is it the story of Stark's ice and the Targaryens' fire? Like, I think that was something that I really liked because I think that those two families are the two most important families, and we've seen them both decimated throughout the books, essentially.
Mhm.
I think there's a point to that.
But
though.
there's this, they have this sort of, I mean,
I think the Starks.
the patriarch of their family is
Well-
killed in the first
well,
book.
I would argue
because
that
he's stupid noble.
no, I
like
think
literally
that's true.
stupid.
Sure, and I think that those connections are actually very deliberate. I already mentioned the fact that
Yeah,
Preston
yeah,
Jacobs
yeah.
has already speculated that dragon riding and warging are essentially forms of telepathy,
Yeah.
both of which you see in the Targaryens and, in
And
the
that's a good
Starks.
point.
And that's kind of that's what got me my
and-
brain thinking about that was because the two major like figureheads that the Starks
Well,
have.
here's the fun fact, real quick, David. Actually, Starks and Targaryens are related.
Well, no, we know.
They
Yeah,
really,
yeah,
really
yeah.
are.
But the Starks
I
have.
don't have my book, but
It's always
true.
fascinating because think about it this way: you could look at it from the House Coats.
Mhm.
So essentially, the Starks have that they have a direwolf on their arms.
Correct.
Right.
We know that this creature exists.
Yes.
The Targaryens are the same way. They have a
Right.
dragon on their coat of
And-
arms.
but
we
hold on.
know dragons exist.
And the
as
winds
long
and the
as you're
low falls
saying they
have
exist,
bats.
I'll be okay.
Think about every other single house. Like they have some sort of figurehead, but the Starks and the Targaryens actually have the literal thing that they have on there is this sort of weirdly supernatural creature that actually exists, and we know exists
that's
within
kind of
this
the
world.
fun thing with Starks and
that's
Targaryens.
kind of the only point I'm trying to make.
See,
is that
actually,
There's another
you
one,
have
though,
a good
too.
point.
Because the Wints had bats.
That's right.
And there was a Wint who literally had like an army of bats.
okay. I
And
mean,
there's
You're
an-
okay.
I'm talking about the central themes
He's
of what we're going
making
on now.
a really valid point right now,
I
though,
agree,
because I
yes.
feel like the Starks and Targaryens are so connected,
But then
and
we
I
get,
don't think that we
But
have
that's the-
really met that yet.
but that's
No.
the importance of
it
what.
has to be.
So we're going to talk about it too, because I don't think we should talk about it on the Game of Thrones, the series, TV
Not
series
in-
episode is
what?
the R plus L equals J.
Can I? Can I?
And
can I
that to
say
me
it?
is
'Cause
something
I've always
that-
wanted to say it. Can I say it?
Yeah.
Well, you don't have to whisper; just say it.
Okay.
Just,
I'm not whispering.
but no, but you're talking like you're dramatic. Just talk it. Just say it.
It is very dramatic. That's why.
Just say it. Go on.
Rhaenyra or Rhaegar and Lyanna, which is Lyanna
Yes.
is Ned's sister, and
Yes.
Rhaegar is obviously Dany's older brother.
Yes.
They had a kiddo, and that kiddo is Jon Snow
Yes.
or Jon Targaryen, because I swear to God, that's
Well,
what it
yeah, no,
is.
and that's
I
that's
feel
a
bad
good point.
because if you
No.
read the books, that's what it is.
But
That's
there's
how it feels, at least.
but there's
I
a
don't
lot
know.
of things that point towards that though too. And I
No,
agree.
no, and
The
George
biggest
is
thing
not
to
an,
me that actually I think, and this is the very simplistic on its
I
face,
think Ned's stuff is mine thing.
as I haven't like completely read the books, but the reason I like this theory is one simple fact that I think that he sets up is that except for I think it's Arya said they say favors Ned.
No,
As far as
no,
appearance?
no.
Which
Arya
kid?
and
She
Jon
does.
look alike.
Yes,
And both of
actually,
them and both of them
they
favor
all look
And-
like Lyanna.
and John favors Ned as well.
No,
And, well, no, hold on, let me finish. In terms of like they
no,
fi-
they
No,
look like Lyanna.
No, he does.
Kind of.
No,
No,
because
he-
Ned and Lyanna look.
no,
Oh,
you're
that's
missing the
true,
point of what
that's
I'm
true.
saying is that I don't mean that
Husband.
negatively. I'm saying I was getting there is that the other children look like
Catelyn.
Yeah,
Catelyn.
Yes.
That's what I was
she
trying
looks
to
like
say.
a Tully.
And part of the
Like,
reason why she
They look like
doesn't
Tullys. Jon
Jon.
Snow and Arya look like
Starks.
Starks.
We had a
Yes.
Stark
So
at work
that's
today,
the-
and I was
sorry,
like,
that's
winter is
the-
coming.
That's the point of what I'm trying to say is that
felt like an asshole.
John looks like a Stark,
Yeah.
and I think that he looks like a Stark where his
He
other
is a
children.
Stark, dude.
Well,
That's the
what
whole.
that's what I'm saying is that
I know.
Ned's other children who are males look like Catelyn.
Correct.
John
Right.
looks like a Stark because probably
He's
because
a damn
he's
Stark.
he is a Stark, but he's not Ned's child.
He is a.
Ned's other children didn't
The
favor him.
idea
That's what I
that
was
people
trying to get at.
have that Ned would cheat on Kat
That too as well.
is
That's a
mind-boggling.
It's
to
the
me.
noble-
This man was like,
it's the character
Cersei,
that
you're banging your brother, and
well,
I'm gonna
yeah,
tell
it's
everyone.
the character that
Do
they,
you think this man would do that? No.
it's the character that Martin's built up with Ned. And
Ned
it's
was
the,
very
it's the other reason that
honorable.
I continually call this month Sean Bean month.
Kind of is Sean.
No, it is
Bean
Sean
month.
Bean month because we talked about
Well, he's not in the Hobbit.
he's
so
not in the
it's
Hobbit
weird.
movies, but we
Well,
can make a
but
connection.
still,
But it's still Sean Bean month, so
he dies.
they
and
might as well
everything.
have put him in there
Yeah,
in some
we
fashion.
could have had Sean Bean month if we talked about Equilibrium. But that's,
We can
No,
talk
no.
about.
But even in
Equilibrium.
the
I love that
show,
movie.
I feel like
Gun
it
Kata.
sounds bad. I feel like Ned died for the most honorable of reasons.
sure.
But bless his heart, screw these people. He should have but I know he didn't want power.
Mm-mm.
No,
and that was part of what his problem was.
Well, exactly. Because he could.
Varys was right in the show.
He
and
had a.
it was like, oh, why are you doing
he
this?
had the
What are you
best
doing to
hand and
yourself?
didn't play it.
He had the best. He played it too early.
Well, he should have. What
Well,
he should
no,
have done
they-
at the end of the day is get
No,
out of
he played it
town.
too early.
Yeah, but no, but his best hand is actually the fact that his supposed bastard was actually the rightful king. If you want to talk
he's
about the
not,
best hand
no,
that he had,
No, Ned would never play
but no,
that hand.
he would never do it.
He would never play that
but
hand.
he had the best hand. That's
Can we talk
that's-
about
Okay.
my mom? We'll talk about it when I
That's
see
his
you next
character
time.
Well,
flaw.
let me.
I don't think
I'm
that
gonna
Ned
throw,
would tell him
Let me
that.
throw a possible wrench into this here, and I don't have all this written down in a way that I can explain it as best as possible. But
I will tell you that you're
Um,
wrong.
sure, but
Go
there
away.
is a possibility, or one of the other theories that I've seen is that the person that Ned is talking, so where the R plus L equals J originally comes from,
Yeah,
of
Tower
course,
of Joy.
is these both dreams and then these hallucinations that Ned is having, especially in the black cells. So he's delirious, and he's remembering the bed of blood, and he's remembering Lyanna saying, "Promise me, Ned." Now, most people have assumed that the promise there is to take care of Jon, pretend that he is yours, and not let anybody know that he's a Targaryen, because otherwise he will be killed, and obviously this is something she wants to prevent. However, this is the theory. So this is the possible wrench. Ned, when he thinks about that promise, when he says, he seems to be thinking that it's a promise that he's failed to keep. But he's kept his promise to Jon. If Jon is the promise, then he's already done right by Jon. He's raised him as much like his son as he possibly could. He's given him, as best as he can. He's taking care of Jon. So one of the possibilities is that it's not R plus L equals J, but that it might actually be R plus L equals D.
So it'd be Dany.
And that Dany is Rhaegar and Lyanna's daughter.
That's fascinating.
And the reason is because the promise that Ned is concerned about, the promise he's been worrying about, and why it comes up when he's in this state of emotional turmoil, and why he feels like it's a promise he has failed to keep, is because it's about Dany and not about Jon. Now, I don't know. That doesn't necessarily mean that R plus L doesn't.
Yeah.
Now, that doesn't mean that R plus L doesn't equal J. It could be R plus L equals J and D.
Well, it would be interesting, and it would make sense.
How fascinating would that be? Well, you could make that. How interesting is that? I'm going to use Dwayne's cats as an example for just a second. So they have two cats, Rosencrantz and Guildenstern. One is white, one is black.
Yes.
So Jon Snow,
Ice and
Dany
fire,
Targaryen,
dude.
Ice and fire. I'm using that as an example of you could have that possibility.
No, but here's the
Dany
thing.
with her white hair, Jon with his black hair.
I kind of
the
want
idea
to
of there being
keep...
twins, could they not be similar in age too, though?
No, I think
essentially.
No,
I think
in the books
close
they're not.
enough.
So this is
though.
where you
They're
have to.
They're
Right.
ishy.
There are issues with the timelines, not just for. I mean, there's literally when I say there's issues with the timelines, I mean there's just issues.
Yes.
Just because.
Yeah, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense.
Martin
Yeah.
didn't sit down.
John makes
one of the things
a lot of sense, though.
Well,
too.
one of the things we don't know a lot about.
John makes.
Is the time we don't know anything about the real timeline of Robert's Rebellion.
Right.
We know this one happened here, and then
You know,
Storm's
I
End.
feel like we know the last half.
Yeah,
to a degree.
But there's a whole section in the middle that we have no idea where anybody is.
You kind of know the beginning.
I think the
Look,
only
I've read the history of Westeros,
Yeah.
and that is actually still kind of how it is.
Yeah, and so one of the things that the reason why I say the time when you're thinking about ages, because I don't think they can be twins.
right.
No.
Because I think
I just throw
Dany
that out there.
is significantly older than Jon.
Yes.
Enough that there's no way that.
They thought that
it-
because
it-
she supposedly
she's like a year older.
She's a daughter of
Yeah,
King
year or
Aerys,
two.
yes?
yeah,
two
it's something
or
like
three,
Along with the
maybe, I
dude who's
think.
like Crown for King. I don't know his
that.
name.
Viserys, but there's
How
there's
dare you
I had to
talk
say
about
it like-
Jason
the problem.
that way.
But no, seriously though, the
He
problem
holds his breath in BVS.
with
He can't breathe underwater.
Sure. The problem with the timelines aside, there are ways that if you look at it a certain way, then times can work out.
Yeah.
Regardless of all that,
It'd be a curious thing.
it would be a curious thing. I don't think that's what's going to happen.
Yeah, because
I don't either.
no,
But I thought it was an interesting wrinkle.
It actually is, but because I think what is it? The indicator that I have is that Rob and John are similar of age. Like,
Well, but okay.
I thought that's why I think that she had
Hold on.
Rob around the same time that he brought John back. Like she was pregnant
Okay,
before he left.
So Ares killed.
fully know. I'm speculating.
That's iffy.
Well, that's why I'm
Ares-
saying it's iffy. I
Mad
don't
King
fully know.
Ares killed Ned's brother
Yeah.
and his dad,
Right.
which is awful. And
in a very horrific way. That,
yeah, no, they. I
They
don't
were
even
burned
know.
to death.
No,
One of them was burned to death. The other
No,
one
his
wasn't.
brother was pulled in half.
Strangled.
Basically.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, yeah, like he was all like, I have to walk and I'm going to kill my... Yeah, it's awful.
Yeah.
No, it's so bad. So around that time,
The Mad
though...
King was mad for a reason.
No, he was doing the most dumbest of crap.
Yeah, Rickard was roasted in his armor. And
Yeah. The dad
what
was
it
one
was.
thing. The brother was pulled apart, flayed, or whatever. I don't even call it flayed. Oh, yeah.
The circumstances were similar because
It was
involved one
bad.
another.
It was
Yeah,
just
yeah.
bad, okay? And so then
Right.
turn around, and the Tower of Joy has always struck me as this weird thing
Yeah.
because we have the frogs,
Mm-hmm.
and we have Ned, and we have King's Guards at the
Mhm.
Tower of Joy.
Yeah,
but
3 of them.
why?
Yeah.
And obviously, there's this idea that the dragon should have 3 heads, and this and that and this and that.
Mhm.
And we have all these stories, we have these songs, we have all this stuff that gives you a lot of support for the idea that Ned's sister and Ares, sorry.
Rhaegar. Rhaegar.
No, I'm not even worried about Rhaegar.
I
I was
thought
going to
that-
say Dany's brother. Boo.
Well, her
She-
older brother is Rhaegar. and
Yeah.
her brother is
that's her
Viserys.
brother.
Yeah.
So
Because Dany was
Move on.
yeah, I'm like, Ares was her dad.
Right.
Man, what are you looking at me for?
I must have missed something that you said because I was like, I'm confused.
No, so you have
No, you're all good.
all the stuff with Lyanna.
I'm the idiot
and
here.
then
Just remember that. 'cause I
Ned
haven't
comes
read the
in
books.
I can't fathom to myself why
yeah.
in this story that Ned would do anything about this if his sister was not up there in pain,
Mhm.
Yes.
or he thought, or being held.
Yeah.
And I don't think she was
Well, that's. I'll take that.
held captive.
Yeah.
I think she went willingly.
Something that I think is very fascinating too.
I really do.
And I think something that
Mm.
Martin plays really well in the books is that
you don't know.
you sense the idea that that's why Cersei doesn't like Ned
No,
because
no,
she knows right
she
automatically
says it,
off the
actually.
bat. Your brother, like my husband, has been pining for your sister.
Like, why are we going to
for
the
X
crypts?
amount of years?
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, for sure.
And that's
Oh,
why
no,
she doesn't
Cersei-
like the Starks.
There's no. That's.
I
blatant.
don't. Like I said, I
Well,
haven't read the book
You know,
in
that's
years,
very
so.
blatant
Yeah.
with Cersei. She's like,
well, in the,
Dumb.
they do make that even more explicit in the show
yeah.
version where there's a scene between her and Robert where they kind of make that more explicit. But the point
Okay.
is there is and now I'm going to forget if it's actually a show scene or if it's a book scene.
I can help.
But there's the point where she says something about the fact that he called her Lyanna at one point.
Yes,
She
Yeah,
says
yeah,
that in a later book,
Yeah.
and she actually says that in the show too.
Yeah, but
Because she said that she felt like, she said it in both.
Oh
It's
yeah,
fine.
and you can see it in the very first scene when they go to Winterfell,
yeah.
where he's like, "No, I'm going to go down to the crypts," and she's like, obviously not happy
Yeah,
with that
why are we
idea.
dealing with the dead? We just got here.
Yeah,
God. We can't even go to the bathroom and fill up the
right.
car.
I mean, there's a lot of fascinating stuff in
yeah.
I wish I had more because you haven't read the Duncan Egg stuff.
I have not.
Oh God! Can I just say?
Because there's some
just-
fascinating stuff with
Oh.
that
No,
that
that's
she's
good.
told me about. But
Right.
Duncan
One sec.
Egg
Okay.
is so good.
I know all the history stuff because
I
I
love
into
it so much, though.
well, explain to us
what
what
do you think?
Duncan Egg are. What that I've heard you talk about them enough. I'm like you.
This is very hard. So Duncan Egg, first and foremost, Dunk is a dude that is kind of like a sellsword, but not really.
Right.
And he's
He's a
just
hedge
a
knight.
poor dude. Yeah, he's a hedge knight. And he works with this old guy, and he becomes a knight, quote unquote, and
Yeah.
then turn around after his knight dies.
Mm-hmm.
He becomes a knight himself,
Right.
but he's like, hey, yay, he's a good dude. And so he meets Egg.
Yeah.
And Egg is a Targaryen,
Right.
and he doesn't even know. And it's amazing. Like, I love it. I love this story so much because
Yeah.
of this. Because he was like, boy, Dunk comes up to this inn. He's like, boy, put my horses. And he's like, I guess I can. And he does it, though. And it's very sweet
Yes.
in a way. And then, it's kind of sad, actually, because Egg has to do Targaryen stuff, and he doesn't really care.
Yeah. What I always liked about the character is that he's somebody who, when he finally becomes king, and he's
like,
he's known as Aegon the Unlikely. Sorry,
Yes.
Aegon the Unlikely, because he's like 14th in line or something crazy like that.
No, he was supposed to be way far down. He didn't.
Yeah, so he was like, there's no way I'm ever going to become king. And then when he does, he actually tries to make things better for the normal small folk people. And it makes him terribly unpopular with the nobility, because they don't want to give away all their stuff.
That's true.
And unfortunately, most of his, like, he tries to be a reformer, and most of his reforms end up going backwards in the next reign of there's a Jaehaerys between him and Aerys.
Well, here's the thing too about Aegon, about Egg.
Mm-hmm.
He sat there and was it Dragonstone that he set on fire? I think maybe. He used wildfire to try to hatch an egg.
Oh, Summerhall.
No, that's it.
Yeah, at Summerhall, which is on the border
Sorry.
of Dorne. And the Marches or whatever.
He tried,
and
it didn't work.
Yeah.
And a lot of people believe that Cold Hands in the book is Dunk, not Egg. Because they feel like it's Dunk because he...
Interesting. I haven't heard that one before.
Yeah, that's one thing I was like, I will keep this in my heart always and forever.
Well, isn't it like
okay, yay.
Yeah.
Some of the theories were that it was what's Stark?
Some people think Cold
No,
Hands is Benjen.
they think it's
Benjen.
Benjen. No, it's not Benjen.
I remember you telling me about the size of Cold Hands.
Cold Hands is too big.
People think that he was.
It could have been Dunk. Tall. Yeah.
Also,
because he was a bigger.
He's a big dude.
Right.
Yeah. Also, actually, I'll say this: the Mountain, the Hound, and Brienne are probably all related to Dunk.
Yeah, because of the size. I remember you telling me that too.
Because they're giants. Yeah. And they always said in the books that Dunk was bred from a giantess, and it's true. Actually, he's a big dude. Brienne. The Hound, especially the Mountain, especially.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Brienne, all of them, they're so big. They're probably all related somewhere.
Yeah, I know.
Really bad. Love them though.
The Hound is one of my favorite characters. So.
No, his arc in the show has been fantastic.
Yeah.
And his arc in the book has been sad.
Yeah.
So in the book, did y'all? I don't know if I missed it at some point. Did they talk about like what happened to the Hound?
No, that's the whole point.
Yeah, okay.
That's what we talked about. The Gravedigger is probably the Hound. The silent. Oh shit! What are they called? I'm so tired. I'm sorry.
It's a monastery. And
yes, the silent monks. Yeah. They're silent. Yeah, they don't talk.
So is he hiding or is he just like there?
I don't think he's hiding. I think they found him, nursed him, and let him work. And he said, okay.
Yeah.
Because he doesn't.
Yeah, hiding implies the idea that you're not wanting people to find you. I don't think
that's what it is.
I don't think he cares. No.
Okay, fair enough.
But to say that, it's like, we don't know anything. We literally know nothing about whether or not this is going to actually turn out that way or not.
Okay.
No, I think he's fine.
I was just curious.
I think Clayton is going to happen, and I'm totally hyped.
Is this one of those times where Martin hasn't definitively killed that character?
Right.
Hell. No.
Yeah, when
that
you
man is
leave,
alive.
No.
The whole point is that Arya couldn't kill him outright.
The joke I always make is that we should have
I respect her.
We should have a banner in our house that says Clegg and Bull get hype. Because
I will be there right now. Every day I need to get.
Because even I, as a fan of the shows, and as a spoiler for next week's episode, like I'm a big fan of the Hound. Like you're supposed to hate the Hound, and he's one of those characters that you grow to kind of really like.
Well,
you like him in that kind of like, I don't like you, but I like you.
Well, that's the point that me and Dwayne had. It doesn't make sense. Why do you like these people that are awful, but then you're like, but you're not really that awful, are you?
Well, I think the Hound story kind of like gives you like
his brother was
sympathy
a garbage
for that
bag.
because what happened to him, like how he got his scars was like, it endears you to that character. Like he has... Out of a lot of the characters that you meet in the story, he actually has a reason that he doesn't like people, and that's one of those reasons why he doesn't. It's because his own brother basically shoved his face in.
Well, and not only that,
no,
but
his own
he doesn't
brother-
even believe in knighthood.
No,
Yes.
he doesn't
Yeah,
give a
yeah.
damn.
Yeah, some people say like, "Oh, you are sir." He's like, "Don't call me that," because
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
bull
he's
crap.
like,
But
nah,
that's because of
I'm
it.
cool.
But that's because of his brother. So it's,
Yeah.
it's cool that they give him that. He's that
I
character
feel like
that you're
sometimes
like.
he did that Kingsguard kind of crap because his brother was there and
Yeah.
he just did it.
But you think he like even
Because he didn't want his brother to.
I think even in the
burn
series
his face
they give
anymore.
you the idea that he didn't really
Awful.
care for it either.
No,
That's why he would
doesn't care.
rather.
Hello, excuse me, so sorry. Hello, everyone. This is a bad word. Straight up in the show, he's like, "Fuck the king," and I'm like, "Yeah." And it
That's very
feels
true.
that way in the book, and I
Yes.
don't think he ever says it, but it feels that way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's like, "Fuck him."
We're gonna have the explicit tag on this episode. So
yeah, that'll be fun.
okay,
Get more
so
people to read.
let's
listen,
wind it
whatever.
down. Is there any
No.
points that we haven't touched on that anybody would
Yes,
like to?
Wow.
can I just real quick
There's always
about
points.
ladies?
Well,
'Cause
yeah,
I
yeah,
have
sure.
an issue about this right
Yeah,
now. I don't. I hate this. Like, I love Arya. She's
Mhm.
my bro. And I kind of love Sansa in the books.
Mhm.
And I feel really bad for Sansa and Cersei. And I feel like everyone talks so much shit about them.
Oh right.
And it bothers me so bad. Because I'm like, dude, I was a teenage girl.
Mhm.
I remember how Sansa felt.
Sure.
I get why she did what she did.
Right.
Why does everyone hate her? She
Yeah,
was annoying in the books, but it
Well,
really bothers me now.
Being annoying, but again, as a
She's
teacher,
a
teenage girls
teenager
are
or
annoying.
whatever.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Teenagers in general are annoying. You
Yeah.
know this, Dwayne.
And so I think Arya, people because of the way her personality is, people are automatically like,
Sure.
"Oh yeah, you're totally awesome and cool." Sansa, however, and one thing that people really, if their feminism is really shallow,
Yeah.
then you're totally like, "Oh, go Arya," and you're like, "Oh, Sansa, you're just a moron." What Sansa does,
Right.
the things that she has to do, the way that she not manipulates, but the way she navigates through all of the crap
it's
that
so
she goes
smart.
through is amazing.
Yes.
And she's an example of somebody who's showing strength in situations where everyone else is they're just in different types of situations.
She's showing
Yeah.
her strength in her
Yes.
situation. I told David
Yeah.
about this yesterday. I was like, I think it really bothers me
Yes.
that people are like, "Oh, Sansa's so dumb."
Yeah, and
She's
so one
not
of the things
dumb.
and one of the
She's
things
doing
you're
so good.
and one of the things you're seeing in the books.
She's
at this
alive,
point-
right?
Oh,
She's
yeah.
not dumb.
And one of the things you're seeing in the books right
Rob is.
now
Sorry.
is this idea that she's
That's a
being
good point, though.
No, but Sansa's being set up now where she
That
is going to be
Littlefinger
able to
stuff's
start
bothering me.
manipulating things because she's figuring
Good,
it out.
because she's figured it out. Because she's not
Yes.
stupid.
And I know
The Stark kids
we've
are
all
cool.
talked about this before in different contexts because of what happened with season 5.
Yeah.
Yes.
And the fact that they took her character and then combined it with where they took Jane Poole's story and they gave it to Sansa.
yeah, and it's
and
kind of
to a
bothersome.
degree.
It's problematic for reasons that it's not necessarily problematic for the reasons people complain about. Like, it is a
Correct.
problem, but it's
You're
not
right.
a problem because of what other people say it's a problem.
No, you're right.
What we are seeing though is they're beginning to go back, and it looks like the way that season 6 is setting things up, that they're going to get her back to kind of where she needs to be
Yeah.
in a similar way that they're going to do with Jaime, where they're going to put him back in the Riverland so he can do the thing he's supposed to do.
And I'm okay
I think
with
in
that.
both examples, it's a good example where the show, in trying to not overrun the books to a certain extent, gave those
Yeah,
two
I feel that,
characters a little bit of filler.
Yeah.
And you're kind of like, but because at the end of it, where are they? Well, kind of in the same place they were before.
Correct.
And so I completely understand why people. That's why I think it's problematic, not because of terrible things happening to things.
No, I agree though. I think
I really do think
they're-
it's a
they-
con- it's a-
they've gotten very stagnated.
Yeah.
It's something
actually.
that they have to do when you're talking about adaptation to books that
Well, they didn't have to do it. That's a problem.
people forget that there's a
True.
weaving that they have to figure out.
Yes, you have to.
And so
No, they've done a fine job.
They just didn't
they've
need
done
to.
the
to a degree.
there are always complaints you
Like,
can
Yes.
have.
okay, hold on. That shit with Joffrey where he's like, I'm gonna shoot this hooker with my
No, yeah,
crossbow.
I agree.
Yeah.
Like,
Goodbye,
I understand.
Joffrey.
I understand
Have a
the
good day.
motivation for that, but I think it's. We'll talk about it when we get to the show. The differences
Right.
from
Still-
one to the other next week.
You don't get
It's,
that feeling from the books.
Yeah. And
Yes.
so it's kind of one of those things where you get what the writers were doing, but it's a misstep on their part.
Right.
So,
And so
was
getting
a
it back,
giant one.
getting it back to understanding why Martin is so great in these books is because he's doing things, he's making things complicated, but it doesn't, and people think
It
that he's
feels
being
so
sensational, but he's not really being
He's
sensational.
not being
Yeah.
sensational all the way
yeah.
at all.
No.
He is being very, very real.
Yeah, and if you want to
and
read,
that is how that crap feels as a lady
Yeah.
sometimes. Like if I was Cersei or Arya or whatever, yeah.
and if somebody wants to give an example of how you can do this and not be sensational, go and read the sample chapter from Sansa's point of view from The Winds of Winter.
Yeah, the new one.
I find that stuff fascinating and interesting, and
I
it's
feel so bad for her.
But it's not action packed. It's not like amazing. It's not like this weird, like the shocking sort of thing or sensationalized at all.
It's filler.
fair enough.
But it's filler, but it's worthy filler.
Well,
Does that
okay.
make sense?
I think it develops character and shows how the character's changing and developing.
character.
So as we're winding down to
Butts.
Davos. Anybody want to talk about Davos?
I mean,
I love Davos. I feel so bad that he lost his fingers.
Yeah.
He's fine, but sorry, guy,
I just figured that's a
you're-
character that if we're gonna talk, if we're gonna at least
no,
have an episode, we'll
he's-
talk about him more. I think when we get to the
I
TV
love
series,
him. Yes, he's
Yes, we
so
will.
like
because he's actually portrayed by an actor that I actually have a ton of respect for as well.
And
So
based on the trailers we've seen so far, we're going to see some amazing stuff from him.
okay,
I guess
and I'm
it's hard
stoked.
for me to. It's what's hard for me about somebody like Davos is just my all I can really say is he's awesome, and so I'm kind of
Yeah.
like,
I almost
What else
feel
am I gonna
like
say?
protects John's dead body, and I think he
Well,
gets Mel to bring him
I think
back.
the
and
thing
we're
is
gonna
that-
see you next week. I got a week.
I think the thing that I
1
like
week,
about
folks.
that I had to like make the point about Davos is too is that like
3 days from this
who he
releases.
reminds me of is essentially
A week.
he's Martin bringing back a character because he kills that character off in the first book.
Okay,
He's similar to Ned. He's not like Ned exactly the same, but he's this noble
no,
character.
Davos is
well,
this.
he's this noble character.
Okay.
Uh,
No, I feel you. Davos is like
You gotta
dirtied up.
Can-
Oh, Kanye.
can I
You
finish?
Can't finish at all.
I think it's a Ross Perot
Davos
right
is
now.
like a dirtied up
No,
version of
that-
Ned.
Yeah, no, he's a noble character. Like he does what he has to do for the better. He did the crime that he's basically gets his fingers cut off for was the right thing to do.
Thief, yeah. thieving.
It was the right thing to do
Right.
for the circumstances.
Eh.
It doesn't mean that it was
No, I
legal, but it was the right thing to
yes,
do.
I would agree with that.
Ned
don't
is
think
the
you should
same
have-
way in that
Yeah,
he
it could
does what's the right thing to do. It doesn't
It's-
mean that he's
I think the
going to
trope is
succeed.
that, oh, you're being noble. And
yeah,
that's
yeah.
probably not a good idea.
Yeah, and I think like that's what I like about the Davos character. I almost feel like Martin brought
I
a
love
character.
Davos, though.
He brought a character that was not like Ned in a carbon copy kind of way, but
Yes.
he had those same principles.
Davos
does
said,
the right
I've
thing."
rough and tumble and I did the wrong things. And now I'm like doing okay, but.
Well, in his mind,
Well,
he's
but I
done
think
the
you're
right
right though.
He's done the right
Davos,
things.
Davos Seaworth is so the literary term for this would be he's a foil.
Yes.
Yes.
Because, but he's not like the opposite foil that people often think about. He has, like you say, he's got this nobility of character where
Yes.
when he sees something that is wrong, like for example, the attempted, them planning to burn Edric Storm.
No, yeah, he's like,
He's like, that ain't happening. We're gonna get this guy out of there. And so he's guided by moral principles in a
Yes.
similar way that Ned Stark
Yeah,
is.
he has a lot of
The
morality.
difference is that Ned the difference would be if you're looking at a Dungeons and Dragons sort of way, is Ned is lawful
Yes.
good and Davos is chaotic.
Yes,
Well,
yes,
yeah, there
that
you
is
go.
exactly what
and
it
so,
is.
But they do contrast to each other in that way.
Well,
I think
even
you're- I
to the
think you're
point
right.
where I think that Davos has realized that like having that sort of thought process would get him killed, whereas
Sure.
Ned, that's the thing that gets him killed.
No, that's true. Davos cares about.
like Ned could have.
Davos feels like he could die at any moment because that's
well,
shit happened.
Yeah.
But Ned,
Ned
Yeah.
could
Ned
have
is,
actually
Ned
figured
is
out.
naive.
He
in a way.
is, but I think that he
I said in a way.
expects. He could have played the Game of Thrones in a nasty way and probably ended up on top.
In the show, I
But
appreciate
he-
what Littlefinger told him, or Varys.
Yes.
One or the other. I don't know. I haven't watched that in a long time.
they both told him.
yeah.
Yeah, they were just like, dude, figure it out because you're gonna die. if you don't.
Well,
do
and
what
he
you're
was,
supposed to
Yeah.
do.
and to be honest, what Ned wanted to do, because I think sometimes I think people overemphasize
Yes.
the Ned being stupid sort of thing. He
He's
was
not dumb.
literally on his way out. The only reason he gets stuck in that position is because of the fight with Jamie.
Yes.
And that is because
okay,
of
look.
Catelyn taking Tyrion. And so really
right.
and truly,
and I don't feel
Catelyn's
like,
really to blame for the whole
okay,
thing.
look, and no, actually, you know what? I'll go even farther back. Actually, Jamie is fully to blame
Oh, yeah.
for all of that because he
Sure.
pushed her kid out the
Yes.
window because him and his turd-ass sister
Yeah.
were sitting there banging away. So, no.
You're right. And so
No.
I think people will sit there and they'll say about
Jamie,
Ned, they're like,
it's Jamie's fault, but I think he
Yes.
feels bad about it now.
yeah. But when people say like Ned is he's just being stupid and just too
No,
noble for his own good.
no.
Ned
No,
is,
he wasn't.
No.
He knew it was up. He was on his way out.
Yes.
Ned was being honorable.
There was a strategy
But
he
it
had
was
employed.
stupid.
Sure.
It
and you
was
could argue
stupid.
Yes.
But he was being very honorable,
Yeah.
but he was still being
And
very
in truth,
dumb.
I don't even think what it was
Love
that,
him,
that he
though.
did was dumb. Is that as much as that?
No, it was dumb.
No, but then that he's that kind of character who thinks that other people are going to think the same way that he does.
Right.
Right.
And that's not necessarily dumb. That just means that he's assuming that people are as good as he is.
Sure.
That's ignorant.
To think about
David,
kids.
that's
It's not that it's
ignorant.
ignorant. It's that he thinks
I'm
that.
joking.
Oh no, he thinks that Cersei and
Calm
them.
down.
He's assuming that
Yeah.
he's thinking.
Yeah,
that
everyone's gonna follow the same guidelines
he's
he
thinking
does.
of the kids.
It doesn't
Yeah.
work that way.
Well, even
And
when
it-
he has the
No.
will drawn up
Yeah.
for Robert,
So
he's
sorry,
like, I have
actually,
the paper that says that this is
Yeah.
all right.
mm,
And then
It's
of course
stupid.
it's torn up.
Right.
Which of course, again, speaking somebody that if you wanted to contrast to somebody with Ned with somebody else would be Barristan and Selmy, because you have
Oh,
a
good
similar
old
character,
Selmy.
somebody who is in that same kind of vein of that noble.
I mean, he's even like dealing with
yeah.
Danny now.
Oh yeah,
so
and he's
that's okay.
and he's making terrible decisions over there too in Marine.
Oh, I'm not saying he's not.
So, but it's
He's still a badass knight, though.
yes.
so.
There is always a
He's
contrast.
a good dude.
Yeah, there's a contrast between those people who are, out for themselves and those people who aren't.
Okay,
and
can we
so.
talk about Barristan real quick? Because
Sure.
he's really really.
It better be real
bad.
quick because
I'm gonna throw this mic at you in a second if you don't shut your mouth.
this might end up being our longest episode.
It's not.
ever.
It's
We're only
not.
at 2:17.
It's fine.
Yeah.
That's
Stop.
say we're like 13
Yeah.
minutes away from it being our longest.
David,
No, it's
is
like
that
20.
a thing?
It's like
No.
20
Because this
minutes.
is Game of Thrones, so it makes sense as to why all this stuff is very long.
So, Barristan Selmy.
Read some books, bro. David,
Read a book.
Read
a book. Sorry, go ahead.
take a look.
Barristan
Take
Selmy.
Okay,
a
you-
book.
So,
Reading rainbow.
so now you're just extending
No,
it. So
no. Now I'm just gonna waste your time.
No, because I can cut all this.
Jerk.
It's fine.
We can cut all this out. So.
I will let you.
So,
Chop, chop,
Selmy,
chop, 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 chop.
what do you think?
Talk about Barristan Selmy. There's nothing in here.
No, I think he's got a fair point in the show and in the book too. Though he's like, I see the point of aligning myself with this person. They're fine. He's on the.
It's cats. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, no, it's pants on the fridge.
You're all good.
It's cool.
It sounds like some rapid fire, like.
So, but I feel like, especially in the books, like he's just trying to do what he can. Because, shit, I guess in the show he might be kind of dead. But, he's trying to do what he can.
Yeah.
I think he cares about Danny and, her dad. And he cares about that royal family that he was a part of.
Yes.
In some weird ways. So I think for them, for him especially, that's a problem. He don't know what to do. I don't think he knows what to do at all. I think he's just trying to help her in any way he can because he probably felt bad because he didn't stop Jamie from killing Ares.
Sure.
And I feel like that's all that is. And also, Jorah can just go die in his little, bro fire over there.
Yeah, yeah.
Mansplained, but you loved me. No, she's like 13. Go away. Goodbye. Bye.
All right.
Gross.
So, All right. Obviously, like I said, there's tons of more that could be said.
This could be like a part.
But I'm gonna
series
Dude,
suggest.
I could top 10 years.
I'm gonna suggest though that if you really do want to dive into this stuff, that there's a couple places to check out. History of Westeros, of course, is like kind of our default. So check them out. I've already mentioned the Mythical Astronomy of Ice and Fire. If you want some really, really like deep reading of this and from a symbology point of view, Radio Westeros is really rad too. They do some really cool in-depth studies of various people, like the one they did recently on Tywin Lannister. They had the Battle of Fire, which is a book thing in Marine, and it's all book based. So if you're wanting stuff that's actually based on the books, that's the stuff to check out. And Preston Jacobs on YouTube is really rad. He's where I get most of my ideas because I don't have enough time to sit down and come up with my own. And then Alt Shift X, I already mentioned before, is an
I was
awesome
gonna say, I was like,
channel.
oh,
It's amazing.
Yeah.
I loved his April Fool's joke. It was so good.
I didn't see it. No, I'm gonna go look.
You should look up.
The cool thing is
look
that
up Hodor.
this is just like what I would call like this isn't us breaking everything down into parts.
Hell no.
It would be way longer to be
I'm not
that
no
way.
teacher. Bah.
So if
Goodbye.
anybody expected that, it'd be,
No.
it would be a lot longer.
Yeah.
They didn't come
And
here
so-
for that.
This would be a multi-part episode.
Yes. And then so next week, in kind of in honor of
Are y'all gonna come watch it with us?
We need to watch it somewhere because we don't have HBO Go.
yeah, you need to log
So
us
are
back
we gonna
into
have-
HBO Go because
Honey, it should be logged in.
it's not. I tried to use it earlier
That's
to watch
ridiculous,
something.
No.
actually. It should
No.
be.
That app always locks you. Remember,
No, it
knocks
does
you out
every
of your
once.
time.
No.
If you
whatever,
don't use it
don't,
enough time,
Don't.
then
Yes,
Yes,
we
we do
are
need to.
gonna watch some HBO
So,
at my house.
okay.
I'll make tacos. It'll be good.
So, yeah, we are going to do that. So we're actually going to record at a later date for our next episode because
What,
we
Tuesday?
Yeah, we're going to record on a Tuesday,
Week
which
from,
is
week from Tuesday.
so that we can talk about not only the newest episode of Game of Thrones, which I think will be our primary focus, but that'll allow us to
Probably,
talk
I would
about
If
Expect.
you guys
The
don't
series
think I'm gonna be hyped,
in and of itself.
oh,
And that's kind of, I think it's a cool thing because it gives us a couple
Yes.
days to digest the episode.
I'm so
And it'll allow us to talk about the
excited.
other things about the episode.
Yo,
You quit
no-
talking over me.
No, there's no
Jeez.
digesting. I'm gonna watch that shit 6 times.
So, everybody join us back
Boo.
because Shukobo will be back with us next week.
Sorry,
We
'cause
actually-
apparently he's so hating on me, so it's okay.
It's just-
Sorry about it.
It's good radio. So, but we're gonna have Shukobo with us next week. We are gonna have, obviously, me and Dwayne are always gonna be here. If one of us does a lone episode, that's gonna be a very sad episode. But Dwayne, who else are we gonna have on the episode next week? Hopefully.
So we're hoping to have. So far, he's committed to it. So I'm going to say we're going to have Ian Everett
Yay!
back again. So we're gonna we were trying, and I'm going to try and convince Jen to get on the microphone and at least talk about it.
Yes.
maybe. We were
I'm
going to
gonna
have her
make that
friend
happen.
Jeremy, but unfortunately, there is a scheduling conflict, and
Yeah.
but we're gonna have to. I expect that we're gonna have more to say about Game of Thrones.
Yes.
as
I
we go through
think
the
that
series.
Jen is gonna be like, no, I don't want to, and be like, no, I want to talk to you about this because she was doing it on the couch earlier,
I
and
know.
I already know.
I just need to give
So,
her a microphone that she doesn't have to have in her
woo,
face, and then she'll be
Yes.
fine because I can just sit it over
Just
there.
sit her over there and she can just talk.
If she can make comments as
But that's
She's gonna be just fine.
So next
I'm
week,
gonna
I
make
think
her
it's going to be
do
really
it.
cool because we are going to do a TV series centered episode, and I think primarily we're going to talk about this premiere episode, but then it'll allow us to talk about
Dudes,
everything
guys, I'm
else.
so excited. We
It's
should
the
have
best
like a
connective
Game
tissue.
of Thrones. It's like
Oh yeah, we'll do that.
food dinner thing, even though I have to work till 4, but I don't care. So
Nobody cares about that unless we're
let's just do
videotaping it.
this.
So
We are gonna have a Game of Thrones with like food.
okay,
Maybe I'll make a
so-
dragon egg pie. We'll never know.
okay.
awesome.
But as always, you guys to close out,
Love you.
you guys can reach us every day at Watch.Read.Listen Facebook page. We're always there. We want y'all's opinions.
Yeah.
We want feedback because
Yes.
y'all haven't given us any feedback, which means that y'all suck right now in my eyes because you haven't given us any feedback.
Because insults always work.
David's so sweet.
It's I feel like I've been driven to that point because that's the only thing. Like, come on, like feedback, guys. Like,
Yeah.
I love y'all's
Have
Make some
you
opinions.
not
comments.
learned anything after 7 years of marriage? I'm very, very confused.
Well, we've only done 18 episodes of this, so after 18 episodes of podcasting,
You
I've
have been
realized
married
that,
for a long time, turd.
So
Anyways,
I'm always going to tell Dwayne, can you turn her microphone off so I can finish
Throw it
this?
down.
But
Go.
no, hold on, because you got to say bye too. You can always reach us on the Facebook page. We do have an email. You can always reach us at, which is Watch.Read.Listen podcast
at
gmail.com.
They can
We
ask
are
me
on-
crap too.
Yeah,
Sure.
we are on Twitter
Just
at
making sure.
WRL Podcast
Yeah.
every day. Same with Christina or Shu.
I'm around, dude. Ask me questions.
She'll usually
We're
look.
cool.
She's good at that stuff. She has a lot of this cool knowledge. I make fun of her, but it's because I love her because she makes fun of me. So
He
we're
makes fun of me.
it's
Yeah.
this
because
mutual.
I'm better at this stuff than him.
So this is very true. And then
it is very true.
hey, and here's the other thing
I
too.
love
that
you, though.
and
I'm
I think
sorry.
this is what. No, you're fine. I love you.
I'm so sorry.
But no, it's okay. This makes for good radio.
I'm being a dick. I'm sorry.
So, but the number one thing to it, and I think that this is something that me and Dwayne have really been striving for, and so far it's been working really well. I am out of computer, so I can't guarantee anything happening for me this week.
Yeah.
Post it from your butt.
I'm the internet doesn't work that way. But we, like, you can
Have
find us
fun,
too. Like, we have articles on watchreadlisten.net.
Yeah.
I think we've done a really good job so far of, like, in the past couple of weeks of putting up some good content that's there to read. And then eventually we are going to have other people, like Christina has a
I was going to say, can I
Yeah.
talk about that for
Sure.
a second?
Sure.
Is that okay?
Yeah.
I mean,
I'm interrupting.
no.
you.
Like, so we had a plan at some point to have Christina do an article on Zod Wallop, which ties
Which
back
I
into
will do, and I have written it.
it
but I
ties
just
back
haven't
into
finished it.
into our past episode on William Browning Spencer. So we are trying to do our best to have, like, more content up there. Like I said, I'm down a computer right now, so I can't do content. I refuse to do content from my cell phone because you can't have the process and the thoughts to do that stuff on a phone as opposed to a computer.
Well, here's the thing. I think what I really want to talk about, and it's not anything to do with what I'm going to write, because that's going to be there. It's more about the fact that I'm going to end up doing a podcast kind of by myself.
I wasn't
kind
sure
of.
because I wasn't. I only reason I didn't bring it up because you hadn't. I don't know if you had settled on a name.
I don't know.
So what kind of it's cool. What kind of ties into us doing this book themed episode? What's really cool is at some point here, hopefully, I want to say I'm not going to say. I will say probably by summer, so June.
Yeah, give me a couple months. I have a lot of stuff to do.
We
with my
have
mom. I
we
got
have
things to do.
plans to launch for Christina to launch for Shu to launch a
You're fine.
book club
I am
podcast.
gonna
That
deal with books with you turds.
So, and that'll end up falling within the WRL, like.
Yeah, we're gonna
Podcast
do it under
network
the umbrella,
umbrella.
right.
So that's
I
something
think
to look
all
forward
booked
to.
up though might be my thing. I haven't quite decided.
So we'll see.
though.
Like, and eventually, hopefully, we'll get some guests who are going to be
So
involved in that
just
as well.
I
So
need to pick a book, but we're gonna do it once a month.
that's
and
why
then
I'm giving
do,
June.
maybe like in the middle of the month we'll vote and decide on a book, and then every month towards the beginning, we'll just once a month
Awesome.
we'll
So
do.
Here's
a
where we'd
random
like to get
podcast.
our users involved. If you've heard this thing, it would be really cool to have people who would either A, be interested in reading the book, B, interested in coming on the podcast.
You better read.
It's, I think the idea right now is that, on a monthly basis?
Yeah,
For a
I'm gonna
book club,
do it like big. First of the month kind
So,
of stuff.
This is where
Like
we
your rent.
really would love to get you guys
Your
involved
bills.
and, like, talking to us about this stuff because
Talk to me if you want to talk to Dwayne or David.
nobody ever
I'm
wants to talk to me.
Eh.
Dwayne does a great job. If you ever follow us on Twitter, he does a great job of retweeting things
No,
out.
these guys are great.
And then I do a good job of retweeting out those things that he retweets. And I am the one who is just like, I managed to do this stuff. I don't like doing things on my phone as much. And then, like I said,
You should stop those hand motions.
I
They're
know.
Really, really bad.
nobody can see them. So
Anyways, let's keep going.
it's the power of radio. So, so Dwayne, on our closing out, do you have anything?
No, I think that sums it up. So.
I mean, this is the fun part, and hopefully this is my biggest thing that I hope everybody has was that they were entertained. Like, we try to make this stuff entertaining. There's a reason we bring Shu on because.
Do you see me?
They can't see you. This is radio. This is entertaining.
No joke.
So hopefully everybody like.
Come on.
If y'all got a kick out of this, like, hey, if anything, if y'all go out and read the books and y'all want to have a discussion with us, that would be great.
Bro, message me anytime.
And
I
then
don't care.
We also have, like I said, next week, we're continuing the Sean Bean month with the actual TV show, The Game of Thrones. I actually want to do a podcast just called Sean Bean Dies and Everything.
Yeah, Sean B. Can I?
Which isn't
can I
true,
sing a little
but
jingle? Sean B. Dies and Everything.
Okay, that's enough.
All right. Let's get out of here, guys.
But yeah, let's.
We're done.
We're done. We're going on. So I am David Watson, saying goodbye. My co-host
Dwayne Watson,
and then our special guest.
Shoo!
And so she'll never be on again, even though she'll be on next week.
Cute.
We're just going to loop everything that she says from this episode and use it in the next episode. So we'll see you guys next week on the next show.
Bye.